and welcome back to another episode of I Quit My Band. How are you guys doing today?
Awesome.
Great, dude.
My name is Nate.
I'm JJ.
I'm Evan.
Before we get into it, go follow us on Instagram and TikTok and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And then go follow our Patreon page where we post bonus content every couple weeks or so. We should have another episode coming out here soon. You can go watch exclusive interviews, exclusive episodes where we talk about some tracks, some artists, some reviews.
Yeah.
Some reviews are more worth watching than others.
Yeah.
But go check out our Patreon and comment down below and tell us what you think. It's $5 a month to become a quitter. Today we're just going to get right into it. It's Saturday. It was a big New Music Friday yesterday. This is kind of the start of, of Chad time, in a way. A lot of good albums coming out. This is what we've been waiting for a couple months. It's
the start of Chad time.
It's the start of Chad season. The season of Chad.
Season of Chads.
Must be the season of the Chads. All right. Anyway, so we just want to get right into it. This album we've been looking forward to for a long time that just came out yesterday. It's called Lonely People with Power by a band called Deafheaven.
Mm-hmm.
Deafheaven has been one of my favorite bands for a long time since listening to their second record called Sunbather, which came out in 2013, I think. If you don't know anything about Deafheaven, they're a black metal / shoegaze, creating their own genre, which people have been calling blackgaze for a long time. Sunbather was like a really, really popular record. I remember hearing it for the first time, like seeing all the hype around it when I was younger and being like, this looks cool, listening to it and just not expecting, based off the cover alone.
Yes,
just
a pink cover.
Yeah, and the look of the band too.
Yeah.
Just not being prepared for it at all, to be like this really heavy, dense noise in black metal, like this really evil sounding shit, but like with these really pretty melodies. I had never heard anything like it, and it took me a minute to like allow myself to get into it because it was something I've just never heard before.
Yeah, as you get older, you have less of those moments that when you hear a band for the first time, it's like a light going off in your head.
Yeah.
And like one of the last times I can remember that happening is listening to Dreamhouse for the first time.
Yep.
Like hearing the hype, putting that on and just being like, oh, I've never heard anything like this. With the pink album cover, I thought I was going to get some sort of like indie pop, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like these like gorgeous guitar melodies with just what sounds like a vampire dying in the light. Like,
Yeah.
Very Nosferatu.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that whole album was like awesome. The pecan tree, the title track,
Dreamhouse is just like one of my favorite things that's ever been put on a record. Like I still think about that song and I'm like, God, is there any better opener? Like it's just so fucking good.
It was like such a mission statement of like, this is what this band is capable of. This is what they do. And like you said, like basically sparked an entire genre off of that. And like, it's been interesting. I've gone back and listened to everything from Sunbather on this past week. And, it's like their trajectory album to album has been really interesting to follow as well.
Yeah.
Like re-listening to New Bermuda, that's one that I come back to less, just the way it's like structured, 5 songs an hour long.
Yeah.
But damn, dude, listening to it, that album does roll. Like Luna.
I really liked New Bermuda when it came out. I was disappointed with like the structure was the reason why I didn't come back to it as much, because every song was very long, like only 5 tracks. You said, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was so dense, and it just didn't give me like all the little, chunks that I wanted. But like Brought to the Water is just so fucking good.
Yeah.
So intense. And it's definitely their darkest and heaviest record. So going from Sunbather to New Bermuda was like, it wasn't a huge shock, but the rest of the rest of their trajectory just kind of gets a little bit weirder from there. Like Ordinary Corrupt Human Love was their 3rd record, and that like was it their 4th? Oh, sorry, yeah. I'm forgetting about Roads to Judo, which I've never listened to.
Never. Same here.
Just full disclosure, never checked it out. Ordinary Corrupt Human Love I was excited for that record, and I remember like they released a couple singles from it. There was like Honeycomb and Glint, good songs, but the record as a whole, when it came out, like you could tell they were trying to go in a softer direction. There was a lot more like hybrid moments of, you know, these big walls of blackgaze, you know, like heavy guitars, noise, screaming. But George Clark, the singer, was doing a lot more singing, and there was a lot of more like explosions in the sky, post-punk,
very post-rock.
Yeah, post-rock moments, which it was cool, but it kind of, for me, like was a little bit of a warning signal of like you might not see the Deafheaven that you like anymore.
Yeah, like re-listening to that album, I had fonder feelings for it than when it came out, because that was the feeling like, oh, we're not going to ever get Sunbather again. Because like Canary Yellow is an awesome song.
Great
it's like
song.
13 minutes, like a great post-rock song. But at that time, I was like, I don't want Deafheaven to do post-rock. So it's an album that has grown in my estimation, probably, especially after hearing this album, where you're like, okay.
Right. I mean, it was. I was willing to forgive that album if Deafheaven were to come back to, you know, what they did on New Bermuda and Sunbather and probably Roads to Judah a little bit more after that. But the record we got after Ordinary Corrupt Human Love was like a huge statement in their discography. Like Deafheaven is really good at causing controversy in the scene, like especially with Sunbather. And then after Ordinary Corrupt Human Love, them releasing Infinite Granite just a couple years ago, and that being a total desertion of like their black metal sound. Like I don't think there's any screaming on that record.
I think there's
maybe
a little at the
bit.
end of Mombasa, which is I think the last song.
Yeah, I don't remember that record at all. I didn't come back to it. I remember hearing the singles and being like, "Fuck this! I'm not into it." Like there was, I'm trying to remember the names of the songs, like the Gnashing,
Great Mass of Color.
Great Mass of Color was the first single.
In Blur, Shell Star. Yeah, re-listening to that, it was like, I respect what they were trying to do, but it was just so not what I wanted from that band. Like some of the drumming is still great. Like fucking Dan Tracy is a fucking monster behind the kit. But yeah, it felt like such a left turn, and it's the most divisive record in their discography. Like there are some people that are like, Infinite Granite is by far my favorite record. I think the majority of people are like, I don't like that album.
I was surprised to learn that so many critics like were giving them, you know, applauding that record for like doing something completely different. It's like, yeah, it shows how diverse they are as musicians, but like you could always go listen to Title Fight, you know what I mean? You could always go listen to like Slow Dive or something like that. Like that's what they were trying. It just felt like they had such a unique thing and made a statement for themselves with their past couple records, and then it was just like, yeah, we just want to sound like a kind of generic post-punk shoegaze band.
Gothy sort of band. Yeah.
And yeah, you could feel it with Ordinary Corrupt Human Love, and I was waiting for Deafheaven to give me Deafheaven. You know what I mean?
Sunbather's the only one. I didn't talk for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, sorry.
No. It's okay. I just like realized that. Sunbather's the only one that I'm really familiar with. I feel like that album was just like so huge.
Yeah.
And like it like transcended metal, and it was just a popular record. Like, wasn't it nominated for Grammys or something? Or
it may have been
awards. Like you don't hear about albums that are that brutal and heavy being like critically acclaimed that often. You know, it just kind of stays within the niche.
Yeah.
But that's the only one I know about, and it's really, really heavy, and the black metal nature of it is often something I can't quite get past. But my bandmate James loves black metal. Like he could tell you the very intricate and minute distinctions between Norwegian black metal and Swedish black metal and American black metal. Like
a purist.
Like he's a purist of black metal and or blackgaze or whatever. But I was excited for this upcoming one, based on the singles, because based on what you guys are saying, Infinite Granite, it sounds like they're kind of back to what people like them best for.
Yeah, I think so. And it is cool, like, you know, you know you're doing something right when purist guys are kind of like dogging on you hard.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I remember being in a bar once talking to some guys in a band about like black metal, and they were like, "Who's like? Do you listen to any black metal? Like, who do you know?" And I was just like, "I know like Wolves in the Throne Room, but like my favorite right now is Deafheaven." And they're just like, "What? Are you get the fuck out?" And I was like, "What?" And they're
Is
like,
that like a basic bitch answer or something?
It's a basic bitch answer because it's like it's popular, it's accessible. And
That's
it's
like
not,
the Taylor Swift of black metal.
I guess. I mean, I think there's some respect on Deafheaven's name in the black metal community because of like how talented they are.
Well, they're not murderers either, so
right.
They're not mayhem. They're not
Yeah.
hating each other.
They're not, you know, very controversial figures.
Yeah,
That's
they're
what
just normal
yeah.
dudes.
Well, and I think that like the reason why they have gotten the like exposure and critical acclaim that other black metal artists have not, perhaps, is because they've brought in these other elements that, like, once you juxtapose them, create something that you don't get from just like, you know, a mayhem record or something like that.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, their new album, Lonely People with Power, came out. This is coming 4 years after Infinite Granite, and I was really excited for it. We talked about the single Magnolia when it first came out. I mean, it was like such a return to form, maybe even, I mean, not maybe, definitely heavier than most things that we've heard from them in the past couple of years. I mean, reminds me more of New Bermuda, but has more of like a shoegaze aesthetic, I guess, than anything off of New Bermuda. So it kind of felt like, you know, we were going to get the Deafheaven that we wanted back with this record. So I was really pumped for it. I don't know if you guys ever heard the song. Did you ever hear the song Black Brick by Deafheaven? Yeah, it was a single they released like years ago, and it was like one of the heaviest songs they've ever released. And people were saying online before Lonely People with Power came out, I was like, there's a lot of black brickness to this record, which got me excited.
Yeah, you mentioned that when we talked about Magnolia, and I hadn't heard it, but I've gone back and I was like, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. What do you say we just dive right in?
Yeah.
It's I Quit My Band, and it's Lonely People with Power. Let's get it going. This is the first track, Incidental 1.
Which is like a series throughout the record. We get 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
It kind of signals like an interlude or a softer part coming up in the record. And for how, we don't have to get into it now, but for how dense and loud this record is, always, I'm never gonna scoff at an incidental.
Yeah.
You know?
No, and what I think they do really well, which we'll talk about when we get to each one, is like implementing them in a way that's not just a breath.
Yeah.
Like it either goes into the next track or provides something for whatever's gonna follow it that you're just like, damn, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Tells a little bit more of a story.
A little bit of a vibe check.
And hearing this for the first time, I was like, because, you know, I only really listened to Magnolia. I listened to Heathen once or twice, but I was like, oh, man, are we going to get Infinite Granite Part 2? And they just released the 2 heavy ones? No,
not at all. Goes right into the first track, Doberman, which I think is, you know, I get those Dreamhouse vibes, even though it's not Dreamhouse whatsoever. It like, it's more of a headbanger. It feels more accessible somehow. It's just like this wall of fucking noise, and like we're just so back right away. Like that's my favorite thing about the song. Like it's just fucking, it's everything I've wanted from Deafheaven, like rolled into one immediately.
Yeah, I mean New Bermuda is what, like 2015, 16?
I think so.
It was after Sunbather.
Yeah.
So it's like 10 years.
Yeah.
And they're like just giving it to you right away.
Yeah.
But also, what I'll say about like this and Magnolia and a couple of the other ones, there's like a viciousness to the metal that I don't think was there on Sunbather and New Bermuda. Like they were heavy, like these giant walls of sound, but this just sounds like meaner in some ways.
I think that it feels to me like they're kind of ditching the whole like blackgaze thing. Like it's still there. Like the shoegaze element is still there, but it feels like they're just trying to give you more to hang on to in terms of like melody with guitars and stuff. Like it feels more like a song than it does like a like a dragged out, like spacious piece of work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like they still do that thing throughout these tracks where they hit you with like that completely unexpected musical moment.
Yes.
But they've gotten so good at them that they can do that in a 6-minute song as opposed to having to like do it for 13 minutes.
I mean, listen to these fucking performances.
Yeah.
I mean, Dan Tracy is like, I don't hear his name come up that much in great drummers.
Yeah.
But goddamn, listening to him this like week, like going back and listening to all those albums, just he holds these sections and make these sections so much more interesting than they could be.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they have so much talent in this band. I mean, for how gruff and terrifying George Clark's vocals are, once you're not gonna be able to understand any of these lyrics, right? And then you go to look up the lyrics and you follow along, and it's like everything is enunciated perfectly. You're like, oh, of course he's saying that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, how did you not see it?
It's like the
first time?
Yanni and Laurel situation.
Almost, yeah. It's like, no, he can do this insane black metal scream, but still like say, you know, the word panopticon perfectly. Like panopticon. You're like, oh yeah.
Totally don't understand how that's sustainable. How like if they go on tour, how you do that every night. I really don't understand.
No, I don't either.
Physically,
I did see them once. And
oh really?
It was fucking incredible.
Yeah.
It was Code Orange. It was a Code Orange show, but they had Gojira open.
Oh my god!
And I was not a Gojira fan at the time, so forgive me. I missed Gojira.
Oh shit!
Or I think it was either they opened or closed the show, but didn't stick around for Gojira. And there was Code Orange, and then Deafheaven. And Deafheaven was like stuck out like a sore thumb, but I just wanted to see Deafheaven, and it was fucking amazing. Like such a cool show. It was, I think, during New Bermuda. He's just an absolute powerhouse on stage. But I was gonna say, like, Dan Tracy, the drummer, is incredible. George Clark's an incredible vocalist, and then Kerry McCoy, the guitarist and like kind of the founder of this band, is also a very underrated metal guitarist. I mean, some of these riffs, I gotta go back to that real quick.
Yeah.
The drop that happens at 3:45.
Yeah, because I mean, it's just relentlessly like epic.
Yeah.
For 3.5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
To give me one of my favorite moments on the record immediately, like this part. It's
God,
just fucking amazing.
yeah.
It sounds so evil. It's so terrifying.
And like the production's like a little different on this
Yeah.
record. Like George Clark's vocals are a little more up front than they typically are.
Yeah.
Like on Sunbather, New Bermuda, it sounds like he's yelling more in the distance.
Yeah.
I do feel like the drums are maybe back a little further than they typically are.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it the whole thing feels just so much like fuller, richer.
Yeah.
And like when those moments happen, everything feels so tight.
Yeah. 100%. Do you want to move on?
You should.
Yeah.
This is Magnolia. We've talked about this before, but I was reading an interview that I can't remember which magazine it was, but they did it with George Clark, and he was talking about how Magnolia was it was just a riff that like Kerry McCoy was messing around with during sound checks, and like he just likes to play, you know, like insane black metal riffs when they're like rehearsing or sound checking, and this just kind of became like a thing that they were just like, we need to make this a song, and I'm glad they did. I'm glad it kind of set the. It sounds like maybe it was one of the first songs written for the record. Yeah, I mean it was a single for a reason. I mean it's fucking so intense.
Yeah, and it's like immediacy, like
Yeah.
what you don't typically get from Deafheaven.
Yeah.
They're a band that like rewards patience.
Yeah,
But to get like this just fucking like
A chugger.
brutal, and then
Yeah.
right into. God damn, dude.
it's so fucking cool. Yeah, he called it. George Clark said it was a very Kerry riff, and they called it like ADD riffing, where it's just like
All
you
over
could-
the place.
Yeah, you could stay on one thing, or you could do a million things at once.
Yeah. It's a dense song.
Yeah. Lyrical themes, I looked into that too. This song is about George Clark being at his uncle's funeral. Really deep shit on this
Ooh.
record. I don't know if you did you dive in.
I didn't.
I dove in deep. There's not really a narrative on this record. I think there kind of is towards the back half. it's a lot about like he said it's about like men and their relationships with each other through like masculinity and things like that, and like kind of burying things deep. So I mean, there's probably something there with his uncle, probably like a reason for writing such a like emotionally dense song. But the lyrics on this record, it's tough because he writes so like mysteriously and poetically, and like it's tough to like find what the story is, but like so many lines in this record, you're just like, I don't know what that means, but fuck,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
I'd much prefer that.
Yeah.
Like because these songs feel so emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Like, despite how heavy they are, if you were just talking about Satan, or some sort of like orb,
or like a cult or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Fuck that shit.
Yeah.
Like I like that they're like, he's a dude that's still trying to like transmit his feelings and stuff like that. And even if it's not legible audibly, like I think it still informs the musical choices.
Yeah.
It makes you want to dig in.
Dick in, dude.
Makes you want to dig in deeper. That's
Hell
what I
yeah.
mean. It makes you want to dig in deeper. You're
Nate's
just
giving
like,
this one a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 for digging deep. But yeah, you just like, it makes you want to go and like buy the vinyl and read,
I like that about this kind of stuff, because like that's a kind of an old school thing, is like having an intimate relationship with the music a little bit, because like that was what vinyl was all about. You see the art, you can touch it, you can whatever. That I feel like Jack White preaching about analog media right now, but there is something to that,
On this record, it really like it makes you want to like have that relationship with it.
Yeah, I mean,
just like, I don't know what they're saying, but like there's something else here that I need to grab onto, and it's more of like a physical way,
Yes.
Like if there was any record, I would like. I don't really buy vinyl anymore, but I would buy this record on vinyl.
All my favorite stuff, I still like, very, very favorite. I still like to do that, and purely because it's such a cool way to first experience a thing. Like, you sit down and you can just like read through, like see if there's like different instrumentalists or whatever. But like, you really just get a full appreciation for like the lyrics and whatever the fuck they're saying.
This is the next song called "The Garden Route." This is one of my favorites off the record.
It's really good.
Yeah.
You like at first you're thinking like, is this like gonna be an Infinite Granite cut?
Yeah.
Like, are they doing like, hearing it for the first time was so interesting because like I was just waiting for like, is this gonna be like the greatest hits where we'll like give you an Infinite Granite song?
Yeah.
We'll give you a Corrupt Human Love.
Yeah.
And like what you start to learn is like, yes, but it's going to be synthesized into its own thing. Like they're able to take those elements now after doing all that like exploration and give them to you like as a holistic experience in one song.
Yeah.
Like you hear this, like that groove, like real busy, sounds good. And then like at 150 you just get absolutely blindsided.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's another like, this is probably the first taste off the record where they do that really well, where it's like, it's always like hiding behind a corner. You're like, oh, this is going to be a slower, definitely a slower one. And then it's just like punches you right in the face. And you're like, okay, we might not get any of that. We might not get any slower ones except for those incidental like interludes. And yeah, this one just, I don't know, it just kind of like, I think it puts all of those elements together the best on the record. Like Heathen does it, and that was the second single. And that even like starts out more with like monotone singing, but I like that I really like whenever he does the screaming over top of like
a chiller thing.
Like, it feels, we've talked about it before, like the toothpaste and orange juice, like you said. Yeah.
And this one's kind of a breather.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Little bit.
It is funny that this is the breather.
Yeah.
It's one of the breathers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the like we talk about like great albums are often like built on like moments, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what I think makes Deafheaven such a cool band is like they build songs around moments.
Yeah.
Like almost all of their best songs are like, God damn, that part's awesome.
Yeah.
Like I can't wait to hear that. And like already we're 3 4 songs if you count incidental 1.
Yeah.
But like 3 songs in, and I'm already getting these moments, and I'm like, damn, I can't wait to hear that
so
again.
cool. Yeah.
And like the vibe, some of the guitar melodies on this whole thing are some of the best they've done.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing their best metal riffage while also doing their best like slow post-punk, ghostly shoegaze riffage as well, like, or post-rock, I guess I should say. It's not really post-punk, but yeah, I mean, like, and they're weaving all of the moments into be like, it's not really like a roller coaster ride. It feels very natural. I think this is the song that does it best on the record. I think I just said that, but
yeah, because like then he switches to the toms here, and it just feels fucking ginormous.
Huge. Vocals just still
shredding,
completely out of this world, crazy.
Yeah, like a ghoul.
Yeah, and I think that was like hearing Infinite Granite. It was just he can do this so well.
Yeah,
so to hear him singing that kind of more monotone, gothy type of voice, you're just like,
come on, dude. Yeah. Give us Darth Vader. Give us the Grim Reaper.
Give us a Sith Lord.
Give us the Sith Lord. We know you can do it.
Yeah.
Just wanted to wait for that drop. I love this ending part. Like that guitar riff that comes in, like down, and it feels very like just rock. You know?
And like the high guitars are like real shimmery and pretty,
just soaring over top of it. Oh my God.
That's why like I love the drumming, because I mean obviously he plays like insane blast beats and double bass and stuff. Oh God.
But this one metal, we've talked about metal before where dudes just want to go dugga 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 all the time. He could have easily done that in this, and he's not.
Yeah, well, and that's what I was saying. Like, I love when he lands on like one of these slow grooves. He is so in the pocket and just like leaning into every fucking hit. Like, there's just such a confidence in every like snare hit, every cymbal.
It's really tasteful. It really sets them apart with how, like, their drummer what's his name again?
Daniel Tracy.
Daniel Tracy can very much like adhere himself to like whatever vibe, because this is more of like a shoegazy thing.
This ending for sure. Yeah.
Blackgazy thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to go full blast beat on this one. It would distract.
Right, exactly. They know how to split up those moments and make like an ending of a song really pay off. And towards the end, we get even. I think the ending, the back half of this. I mean, it's tough to set it apart. Like, I don't know which I like more, the back half or the front half, but I think the back half has like even prettier moments on it.
The back half is like everything after Incidental 3 is like Jesus.
It's out of control. Yeah. Let's move on. Here's Heathen. This was the second single. I think this is the best song on the record.
Wow.
I don't know, like all of the moments, like all of the we get an urgency to the sort of Infinite Granite nod here. Like it sounds a little bit better, but it doesn't last for a long time. But I like the lyrics on this one. It feels very like cold. It's the same type of vibe as the Garden Route, but I think it just like it's a little bit more precise. I don't know. I feel like there's a reason why. There's like an identifiable chorus on this one, I think.
Yeah, I get that vibe too.
Yeah, and this was the one that after hearing it as a single, I allowed myself to get excited for the record. Yeah. Because you hear this part and you're like, oh, okay, maybe they're going to do one for the metal crowd, one for the Infinite Granite crowd.
Yeah.
And then it just like immediately becomes something completely different.
Yeah.
And like you said, the Infinite Granite part has like that sort of like urgency to it, but then just...
there's a line that he starts off every part of this, every part of the song with. It's, wrote it down. I wonder what is numbness and what is a coma. I like that line. It's another one of those lines like, I don't know
what does that mean?
What we're talking about, but that is dark and chilling and deep.
Yeah.
And singing it in this insane black metal scream just hits so much harder.
Yeah, and the sonics of the song, like that's what you need. You need people talking about numbness and comas, screaming their lungs out.
Yeah. I mean, there's just definitely some dark ass fucking themes on this record, and why wouldn't there be? I mean,
Yeah, you're not talking about fucking how stoked you are about
yeah,
anything.
I just want to soak up the sun. Yeah, and this is like another one of the songs that you have to give credit to their ability to take all the stuff that they've been doing for the past 10 years and like, create like a new sound out of it. Like this is the first album of theirs. God damn, just so good every time. This is the first album of theirs since basically New Bermuda that they haven't, or even if you count New Bermuda, of like trying something almost completely different than Sunbather.
Yeah.
Like they've taken a pretty big creative step forward, and this one feels kind of like they just take the elements of those 4 records and kind of try to see how close can we get them to all sit with each other.
Yeah.
And I find that really impressive.
Yeah. Especially on what they've created. I mean, it's just like it's all so seamless. Do you want to move on?
Sure.
Let's move on to.
Is this one of the interlude ones?
No, this is Amethyst.
Amethyst. This is a long one, isn't
This
it?
is I think this is like this feels like the kind of like the turning point of the record, or maybe like the crown jewel, if you will.
Yeah.
Like it's probably the most dense and probably. I don't know. It's the slowest and prettiest in a lot of ways. I don't even like it's very long, and it's the first time on the record where I'm like 2 minutes in, and I'm like, oh damn, we're only that far in. We got so much more to go.
Yeah, this feels like maybe something more in line with like New Bermuda, like those longer.
Yeah.
But even then, it's like it's its own thing. What I find so impressive is it just. Once it does start peaking, it keeps finding new ways to reach like an even higher plateau with more energy and more urgency. And it's like, I remember listening to the first time and just being like, holy shit, where do you go from here?
It just keeps going. Yeah. I like how slow it starts off. Like it starts off with this spoken word passage and then just keeps, like you said, just keeps going and going into like it's just like beautifully constructed chaos in a lot of ways.
We aren't a long song podcast.
We're really not.
We are very much a short attention span ADD podcast. But I think we all kind of very much like this song. So maybe we're breaking our mold a little
We
bit.
might be breaking the mold.
For Deafheaven only.
Everyone else has to give us short
3.5 minutes
chunks of pop.
If you don't give me 2.5 minutes, you get in a dog shit. Unless you're
Deafheaven,
then you can write a 13-minute long epic. And I'm like, dude, that part at 7.5.
Right.
I mean, get out of town with it.
Yeah, like King Giz writes long songs. We're like, fuck that.
Yeah, it is
Sucks.
weird. It is weird how like attached we are to like pop
3 minutes
writing. Yeah. Like if it's not hitting you over the head, then come on, what are you doing here? I mean, but at the same time, this does like I think that's why it's so satisfying because it's like it doesn't leave you being bored ever. Like even at these slower parts, you like they make such a point for you to know like okay, it's just a part of the song. Like you just have to get through this little interlude that it's gonna be very pretty. It's gonna be nice to listen to because of how beaten over the head you are with giant fucking guitars and huge screaming.
Yeah.
That you're going to appreciate every part of the slower bits.
Yeah, like none of them feel like wasted ideas or fillers.
No, not at all.
Like it never feels like in these songs they're like, okay, well, we need the quiet part to make the big part sound sick.
Yeah.
It's like the quiet part is its own interesting set of ideas, vibes, emotions, and then when it does go to the heavy part, that stands on its own as well.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that for 9 straight minutes, and like this part comes back shorter and then just And I love that fucking guitar line.
Yeah.
And this bass line.
Yeah. And the way he writes, the way he's able to write vocal melodies is like, I mean, it's very classic black metal, but I like just his cadence of like being able to, like when he sings these lyrics, like you read the lyrics and you're like, oh, it doesn't seem like it fits, but he like takes every syllable and is like, dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
and some of those parts, and it just makes it really satisfying.
Really like sends it home.
It does send it home. Like in that part in Doberman, like where it's just like it's all that whole drop is reliant on that lyric that he drops, whatever it is.
Whatever he says.
Something about having a black iris, and you're like, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah,
he meant
like,
that
He
shit.
meant that shit.
Whatever
yeah.
the fuck he's saying, hell yeah, brother.
That's the stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this like feels like them taking the post-rock kind of idea, that like jammier, spacier, but adding so much more of the old school black metal type, like
so much violence.
Yeah, noise. And like I love that in this song so many times you keep feeling like they're gonna take the foot off the gas.
Yeah.
Like here, and then they just keep pushing it further
forward.
and further.
Yeah. And it's cool too. I mean, like for how like sort of similar. Yeah, I love how clear the drums come in there. It's
insane.
ridiculous.
And like if that part, like the first time I heard it, I'm like, okay, now we're gonna go back to that quiet part. It's like, no,
we're
just
still
even more fucking insane than you just
Yeah.
heard.
You gotta like really develop something. Just do that.
Just that.
Just
Yeah.
this.
Mhm.
Like I'm already tired.
Yeah.
Like,
Whoops.
doing that on tour forever.
Woof.
The dude who ever played the Godfather theme or whatever, just that shit.
Slash, dude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Slash.
Yeah.
Slash was a big influence on this record.
Yeah, so
that
you
would
can
be
hear
so
Slash all over this
Slash's
thing.
lyrics in
Slash.
Snake Pit. He had a lot of shit about black irises and his uncle. Actually, it wasn't my
Slash.
uncle. It was Slash's uncle.
It's a
that
concept album about Slash. Yeah.
About Slash's life, his relationship with his dad and his grandfather, the men in his
The
life.
album's actually mostly about Slash's uncle Daryl.
All of
Daryl Slash.
You know, we just wrote every song about one of our heroes: Slash, Carlos Santana,
Les Paul.
Les Paul, Joe
Gibson.
Bonamassa.
Yeah.
And we just find out they have the worst
Yeah,
taste,
the worst
but
taste.
somehow they get together and write like the most
Sammy
gorgeous
Hagar.
music.
Yeah, I'm a big Hagar guy.
big Hagar
you get
guy.
his latest sauce?
Yeah, that's why the last part of the song talks about how hot
Yeah.
the sauce is.
Sunbather. Sun.
Yeah,
Hot.
that's what
Hot
it was.
sauce.
But I mean, like we've been riffing about Slash for a minute and a half,
Yeah.
and they are
This is
still
still
maintaining
going, yeah.
this just absolute breakneck speed.
Yeah, and I was gonna say before, it's cool that like the past three songs have kind of they do a lot of the same things. You know, you get quiet part, then you get this wall of noise, but they're all unique. Doesn't seem like you're listening to the same song over and over again, which was a thing that I was scared of listening to this record. I was like, yeah, I mean, it sounds like they have sort of a formula down, but every single song brings something unique to the table, and it's really just the melody, like the melody at the core of every song with the guitar lines, like
And just like you feel like at this point, after hearing Doberman and Magnolia and these other songs, you feel like you've heard them at their most chaotic, in their most beautiful, and then they have a song like this that reaches like a level of chaos you can't even like. What we heard just before this was fucking absolutely insane,
crazy,
fills everything, and then it lands into this enormous pretty section. So it's like they can even find levels above what you've already heard, and like
they find new ways to explode.
Yeah.
Do you want to move on?
Yeah.
Let's move on to. We got an incidental here.
We got an incidental.
Featuring
someone.
Incidental 2 featuring Jay Matthews.
Who's that?
I looked her up. She's the singer of a band called Boy Harsher.
Oh, hell yeah.
I've never listened to that band before.
I've heard of them, but I can't remember if I've listened to them or not.
I had heard of them. Didn't know. I don't know if they're like metal or anything. But this song, I liked this a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a breath of fresh air. Because
might be my favorite one.
I don't like it's doesn't follow the same formula at all, so I can see why like it's one of your favorites, but it doesn't follow like an interlude formula either.
Mm-mm. It's
like,
4 minutes.
It's 4 minutes. It's weird as hell. Her vocals are like chilling and dark and gothic, and the explosion at the end is like one of the probably the most evil sounding things on the record.
And these like these synths that are dragging up and down.
Yeah.
I really like the spooky. I'm trying to think of another. We've just said spooky like 1,000 times. The
shoe fits, bro.
the Spirit Halloween No, that's not it.
The anxiety. Level.
Yeah, the
Right,
anxious
right. Yeah.
nature that it really, because they don't stop. It's it's
Yeah.
almost like a machine.
Yeah.
Humming or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like lazily like finding its
Yeah.
place, like up and down.
Yeah, modulating.
Yeah.
And yeah, when I saw like there were 3 of these, I was like, oh, those would be like the whatever. But every single one is like they don't waste it as just this thing to be like, well, let's try some ideas.
Yeah,
And it'll be a
yeah.
breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Because like I mean, after Amethyst,
Yeah.
you need this.
You
Yeah.
do need this.
like if you're not gonna put Amethyst
Last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you have to like take it down a bit and
Yeah.
like to move to this super sparse thing with like haunting vocal, very sparse synth moving up and down, and like you said, the explosion that happens at 3 minutes
Yeah.
is just one of those moments in the record that you're like, oh my god.
It's very 9 Inch Nails hurt. Like the dun, like it lasts for not very long, but it's huge.
And like it drops out here and you can't really hear it.
Yeah.
But there's like a bass just like
Yeah,
plucking away.
I'm gonna turn it up a bit.
That
Yeah.
goddamn.
Reminds me a lot of this whole song reminds me a lot of like Lingua Ignota.
Oh,
You
okay.
ever- yeah, like it's not as like grand, and that's kind of the reason why I never was a huge Lingua Ignota fan, because like her stuff is just so dense and like it's
What about
not.
Chelsea Wolfe?
Chelsea Wolfe is probably a better comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably
Yeah.
why I like it. I really like Chelsea Wolfe.
Chelsea Wolfe's great, but yeah, I'm not. I like some records of hers more than others, but
Recent stuff hasn't been it.
yeah. But like Lingua Ignota has like these really like it feels like it's music for I'm not even sure what time of the day or time in your
The
life.
future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're just like I don't. Let's go
Yeah.
back to that.
Go back.
Give me that.
It's coming. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Like, do you
It's
think
like
if it's given you every incarnation of evil that
Yeah.
you could possibly
Oh my
imagine?
God.
yeah, it's just so dark.
Absolutely terrifying. And then that scream that's not even a George Clark scream. It's just like, "Ah!"
It almost sounds
Yeah.
like Matt Guerra a little bit from
It
Swans.
yeah, it does have a Swans vibe on
Yeah.
this song. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I mean, this is really where I was like, we might be listening to like a pretty special record.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Like to be able to incorporate an idea that's so much different than the songs you were just doing, and something so different than you've ever done.
Yeah,
And land it. And now I'm like, I want to hear the Deafheaven noise synth album.
yeah, that's what.
Yeah, same.
They could. I mean, if they made this, they could make something like really fucking artsy and avant-garde. You know. And I love the way it ends too. Just like
Hard stop.
completely cuts out.
Yeah.
Makes it so much more chilling.
And then it leads into just
The most fun song on the record.
Oops.
This is Revelator, which I'm not sure if it's my favorite song on the record. It's one of my favorites. But it's, I mean, this sounds like that riff is almost like, there's like Metallica riffage on this, which fucking rules.
Yeah, it's the most just straightforward ass beater.
It's such an
that
ass
maybe
beater.
they've ever written.
Yeah, I think so. The lyrics too, like the lyrics, are kind of about like it. Well, it has the song, the title namesake in the lyrics, "The Lonely People with Power." It seems to be about like criticizing, people of leadership and all that shit. Not in a cheesy way though, like so
Yeah.
many metal bands have done. There's so many just like chilling lyrics in the back, and I wrote some of them down. Find them, bring them, cut them down. Find what they love, burn it in a fire.
Fuck yeah.
Like they're just not playing around whatsoever on this song. It's just goes so hard.
Yeah.
No goofing off in this stuff.
Well, yeah, and that's what's going on in a
Yeah.
lot of people's lives. So it's like to hear it actually done in a poetic
Yeah.
way that makes you feel the way that feels.
Yeah.
Like that stuff almost reminds me of that radio headline, "When I am king, you'll be first against the wall."
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that
yeah.
Kind
Just
of
that
stuff.
kind of shit where it's just like, this
the
is-
the brutalness of
Yeah.
power.
This is what's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
We're not fucking around.
Yeah, and that idea, like lonely people with power,
Yeah.
like there's like something missing inside of you.
Yeah.
but you also have this like the power to be able to exert whatever you have
Yeah.
missing inside of you onto people. It's
Yeah.
like that's a terrifying idea.
It's very terrifying.
4 words, and it's
Yeah.
just like you're already like, oh my god, and
Yeah.
then you hear it, and it's just like,
I love those chugging, like, dum, 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 dum. Yeah. It's so, I mean, it's the most, like, classic metal, like, pure thrash
Yeah.
influence influence song on the record.
this is like for all the dudes that called Sunbather lame because
Yeah.
it didn't sound enough like fucking Lamb of God or whatever.
Yeah.
They were able to do that with songs off of New Bermuda, but, like, this was, like, to feature one on the record, just, like, in an already incredibly intense and loud and noisy record. Just to throw this in there is like, yeah, we can be more evil than you've ever even
You
thought
wish
of.
you could be
Yeah.
this fucking evil.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
we're
And
from
then
San
listen to that.
Francisco.
Adding just a very pretty, beautiful part in just cause.
Yeah, and
Remember when we
yeah.
remember when we listened to the Five Finger Death Punch? No, Killswitch Engage album.
oh yeah,
And we would get hit with like some like brutality and then go into a soaring chorus.
Yeah.
And the whole time we just said soaring chorus, get that out of here.
Yeah.
They have soaring shit in this, but it's so not lame.
Yeah.
It's like it's the same, a similar feeling that they're trying to emote or evoke from us, the listener, but executed in such a more such a less laughable way.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
You know what
100%.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sorry to any Killswitch guys out there. Just dunked on you.
Yeah.
Caught
Well,
a
go watch
I'm
a
still a
review.
Howard Jones fan.
Killswitch caught a stray there, but like the soaring thing here, and somehow is more moving,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
like not leaning into the theater kid nature of it at all. You know what I'm saying?
100%. I
Yeah.
think you're very right. Is like the same impulse that is
Yes.
driving the Kill Switch guys to try that,
Yeah.
but like these guys just have a level of like artistic like taste,
Yeah.
to-
Nuance.
and it's
Yeah.
like it's still draped in. Like there's that one song on that record that just sound like like we said, like mega church,
Yeah.
Yeah,
like youth pastor thing. Whereas like these guys, it never fully leaves Dracula's castle.
No.
It's
never.
like you get that glimpse out there and you can see a better
You
place.
might go in the yard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you're locked there forever.
Yeah.
Ever. There's a moat around the castle.
It's that's two sides of the brain while watching like something like Nosferatu. It's like, yeah, he's an evil man, but he just wants some love. dude.
Yeah.
Dude, that's it.
He's just looking for his gal, you know?
Aren't we all?
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day?
Yeah, and those big soaring sections do feel like the end of that movie where he's just
Yeah.
like looking out the window and blood's coming.
Right,
out of his
exactly.
eyes.
Like there's beautiful moments to it, but it's all shrouded in like this cape.
Yeah.
Of just like
Yeah.
evilness. You know?
Yeah.
And you open it up and it's like just a naked guy. That,
He's got a dick and balls just,
just
like
a guy with
anybody
a
else.
mustache who's
Yeah.
just looking for a gal. You
I'm
know?
just like a Romanian prince from 1658
It's
that got
all,
bit
dude.
by a bat, dude.
That's it.
It's a bad luck.
What?
Yeah.
It's,
He
I'm
didn't
just a
choose
man.
that.
Yeah. You
Spider-Man
took my
didn't
girl.
want to be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But then, it comes back into this, which is just fucking brutal.
I mean, if there's any song on the record that I think, like, if I have to give we haven't criticized this record at all so far. If there's any criticism of any song on here, I would say I love Revelator, but it probably could have ended after 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
It probably didn't need that pretty part. It could have just existed as just a blaster and just ended and been just as satisfying. But because it's Deafheaven, they made it probably cooler.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, this is pretty sick.
It's very cool. It's just like, they kind of drove the point home with all of the insane
Riffage.
shit that they did at the beginning of the song. Let's move on to the next one. This is Body Behavior. I think this is kind of if there's any song that's like, sticking out as a sore thumb in a way, I think it's this one. I don't hate this by any means, but it's the most different.
I would agree. Yeah, I still like it, but it's
Yeah.
like brighter. It feels like an 80s song.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like if you sent Deafheaven back to 1986.
Yeah.
They're in like a club. Like even the vocal style is like a little more hybrid. Like he's not
Slapback.
doing the low key
it's so weird how much this song reminds me of the OCs. You know what I mean? Like, listen to his...
Yeah.
But, like, he's not doing the screaming voice.
He's
like,
doing the John Dwyer's.
He's going in and out of the screaming. And, like, listen to how he sounds here. Like, that is fucking John Dwyer doing that.
Yeah.
Like that ghoulish type of... It's not exactly screaming, but it's like this weird...
Night
like,
exposition.
Rita Repulsa from Power Rangers.
Well, yeah, I was almost getting, like, evil Fred Schneider.
Yeah, almost, yeah. But yeah, I that interview with George Clark, like they said, like he said everything I thought of when I first heard this record, this song. It's like they wanted to do something that was a little bit more krautrock inspired, a little bit different, and this does have, it just does sound like a rock song, and it is brighter, and it is just more simplified. But he said if there was any song on the record that they were thinking about cutting, it was this one, and I would, it would make sense if, like, this came out later as a B-side. I would completely get it. But it's a cool switch-up, I think.
It is, and there's, like, still some sections in it that, like, add something to the... That's cool.
Yeah.
There's a beat that he does at, like, 2.5 minutes where he's doing, like, constant 16s on the ride.
Yeah.
And different stuff like that. Yeah, it's an album that, I mean, at an hour, if you lost this... Maybe it goes down a little smoother at 55, but, like, I never skipped it. Never felt like the want to skip it, but it's the one that feels the most different.
When I was listening to it as a whole, I was just like it's one that caught my attention immediately because I was just like, wow, this is not this huge, soaring, like, emotional, shoegaze black metal ballad. It feels like a rock song, and it's cool to hear him try to. It feels like he doesn't know what to do with his vocals at the beginning. Like, he's like, should I try to do a different thing? And then just ends up doing the black metal scream anyway. It's cool.
I'll do it anyway.
Yeah. He's just like, he just like, this doesn't sound right.
Yeah, the guy, like, looks over at him. He's like, all right,
hold on.
Go back to count or lock.
But yeah, it's a cool one. Let's listen.
Yeah, this beat right here.
Oh yeah. It's kind of how, like, when we listen to that new Car Seat Headrest song, we're like, that sounds like Deep Purple. It's like, this also kind of sounds like Deep Purple. Deep Purple's coming back.
Deep Purple's having a moment,
Yeah,
dude.
Deep Purple is having a moment.
Like, really, after hearing that Portable Door,
it
was Slash and the newest Deep Purple record.
Yeah,
that
what are
really
your biggest
inspired.
influences?
See,
Portable Door.
Yeah, Deep Purple Mark 7 or whatever they're on now.
Yeah.
Deep Purple with all guys that are in their 20s and then the original singer.
The Sons of Deep Purple.
I like the 5th iteration
Yeah.
of Ian Gillan, personally. The Coke version.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
The Sons of Cream.
The Sons of Cream. Here's Incidental 3. Oh, there was a lot. You know what? I got to go back real quick because I did write some stuff on body behavior. Lyrically, there's the lyrics of this song, like, talk about the record. Like, there's sort of a theme within this song and then Incidental 3 with Paul Banks that we were about to listen to. It's about, like, and it kind of explains the album cover too. Like, the album cover is like a prostitute walking up to, like, a car with, like, a teenage boy in it.
Yeah.
And this song talks about, like what sounds like describing, like, that moment and being, like, faced with something like that and not knowing what to do, I think. And then the next song, Incidental 3, kind of talks about that in not such a huge metal way. It's Paul Banks from Interpol doing, like, a spoken word passage about, like, being faced with this woman and kind of being sort of entranced by her, I guess. I'm not really sure, but I think those two songs have to do with that moment on the album cover.
I think there's some meaning behind the rosary hanging from the mirror in the cover.
Possibly,
sort of,
I'm
like,
not really sure.
Sacrilege theme going on or something.
Guilt, shame.
Guilt
Yeah.
and shame, probably more guilt and shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was interesting because, like, when I saw Paul Banks on
Yeah.
the record, I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa. And then hearing what he's doing on it, you're like, oh, wow. It's like, I wouldn't, if I would have heard it, I don't even know if I would have clocked it as Paul Banks.
I wouldn't have. Yeah.
Like, New York kids.
Yeah.
Like
I wanna pull you in.
Man, you're making him sound like the dude from the B-52s.
Fred Schneider.
I mean, almost.
It all comes
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
Fred.
yeah.
I fucking love Paul Banks, though.
Me too,
Yeah.
dude. I mean, like, and without a doubt, that those dudes probably loved fucking that first Interpol record.
Oh yeah.
First Interpol record, portable door, Slash.
Slash. That's what
Interpol's
we
really
like.
the only cool band we listen to.
I think they were actually on tour with Interpol, which
Oh,
is like
wow.
I thought you were gonna say Deep Purple.
no.
That would be insane.
I
They're
think they
actually
were
on tour with Deep Purple.
They were on tour with Interpol, I think, when Infinite Granite came out. And I think that's
Oh,
where
that
like,
actually kind of makes
the
sense.
relationship starts with them with Paul Banks. Then in that interview, they said that they like reached out to Paul Banks and were like incredibly nervous to get him to be on the record. But like, I don't know. I mean, it's not like he's doing anything crazy on here. Like it sounds, it doesn't need to be Paul Banks.
It
but,
doesn't,
yeah.
but it is cool.
It is Paul Banks.
Yeah,
and that's what makes it cool.
It's the guy that wrote Antics, so I'm in.
Yeah.
But yeah. What was like? I was listening to the record, and this came on, and I was like, "Huh, this might be kind of like the first sort of." I feel like this is like doesn't need to be on here at all.
Yeah, yeah.
But then it's like there's this little choir sting that's happening under Paul Banks's spoken word, and it transitions into the next song in such a fucking awesome way.
Yeah.
That I was just like, damn, dude.
Yeah.
Even when I thought that I was like, okay, here's the first thing that they really didn't have to have on it. They have a way of tying it into the next piece of music in a way that's so cool and satisfying that I'm like, man, this is pretty awesome.
It goes into the next song, Winona. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but Winona Judd. Yeah. Ryder.
Barely knew her.
Barely knew her. But yeah, this is Winona. And it leads right from Incidental 3, and the choir like vocals that come up, like that's such a fucking awesome part of the record. Like just to make it even more huge and more beautiful, put a fucking choir in there.
Yeah, it was like, I love this portion.
Yeah.
Like, and I love that they, like, each one of those interludes, like the first one to start us off, they implemented each of them in a really creative way. Like the album needed something at that point. The section both gave it the breath that it needed, but it wasn't just like a fuck around whatever. It's no, it was a way to also tie the next part of what's coming forward together, or something that you hadn't heard yet. And yeah, the way that this just slowly builds up out of just like that little synth choir, and then the guitar starts coming in and everything's shimmering up and raising up. It's just like, this is one of my favorite songs on the record.
It's one of my favorites too, and yeah, for a lot of the similar things that you just said. I mean, like, we had a lot of quieter parts in the record, but nothing as like satisfying as this. Like, this is when they start in these last two songs, where they really start going back to Sunbather era Deafheaven, where things are like, it's just a fucking wall. You're smashing into just Kerry McCoy fucking, like, the most needle and evil but beautiful sounding guitars that you've ever heard. With like, I fucking love that guitar melody. That
Yeah, it's really nice.
It's like, it feels like you're in,
It's like
the
biblical.
Church of Satan.
Yeah. And then like the drummer just absolutely going insane during
Wild.
this section. Yeah, like this is, I think, the prettiest thing on the record,
Yeah.
just that section.
Yeah.
And like to build it up out of like this spoken word that the guy from Interpol was doing.
Yeah.
And like it raises up to that.
That I gotta go back real quick.
Yeah, because like you think it's going to calm down for like a longer period of time, and it's just this short little breath.
I just want to hear that drum come in, because it just goes right back into it. I mean, so quick. Yeah, I mean, having this, I'm not sure lyrically if this song really ties into what was going on Body Behavior in Incidental 3.
Yeah, like if her name is Winona.
Well, I thought that too. I was like, oh, this is like telling a story, but Winona is actually the town that George Clark's family grew up in Mississippi. So I'm not, I mean, it may have something to do with it. But But yeah, this song, I mean, the lyrics seem to be a lot about, like, you know, family, growing up in, like a weird, you know, like, small town, like, population of, like, you know, nothing area, and having, like, weird relationships with family members and things like that. So it's cooler to, like we said before, it's just so cool to know that there's, like, actual meaning behind these lyrics, no matter how hard they are to decipher. You can feel it when you're listening to it, and then looking at the lyrics, you're like, oh, there's something.
Yeah.
Something's going on here. And
it's funny because, like, even you just saying that, it adds an emotional context.
Right.
Where, like, this feels like the end of a coming-of-age movie for, like, Damien.
Yes.
Like the child of Satan.
Yeah, I don't know how they're able to do that so well. Like, it's just like we always talk about those, like, raise your fists in the air songs, and it fits that mold, but, like,
there's not a shred of cheesiness to any of this.
Not at all. Not at all.
God,
in fact, the only way to maybe not be cheesy is to be the best black metal.
Yeah.
The only way you can indulge in John Hughes core is to also be able to play the most insane blast beats and have a guy that can scream like
that
a devil.
Might be what the key is. What other
we
bands
figured
are
it out,
missing.
folks.
Yeah.
When the A24 remakes The Breakfast Club, this is Judd, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I loved this. I mean, listen to that.
Yeah, just like gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. You want to move on to the last song?
Yeah.
Sure.
Last song is The Marvelous Orange Tree, which, again, I mean, it sticks with this. It sticks with this. I think this is the most Sunbather on the entire record.
But with, like, the infinite Granite vocal style.
Does it have that? I mean,
in parts of it.
Yeah.
But that's more of, like, the melding of the worlds that Evan
yeah.
was talking about at the beginning.
Yeah, like, the melding of the worlds was happening more with, like, you know, heavier sounding songs at the beginning of the record, but now we're doing it with the big shoegaze, blackgaze type of style. Yeah. I don't even know how you get anything to sound like this, you know? Like,
like, literally, if we got our band together and started even attempting, it would sound like such dog shit so immediately.
Yeah. How do you get your guitar to sound like this? How do you just playing this? What has to be there? To
how
make
many
it sound
delay
so cool?
pedals? How many?
Reverb,
Yeah. Took our inspiration from The Edge from U2. That's another cheesy guy.
I saw that part where
Edge.
he played that riff and he showed that he wasn't doing much but moving his foot, and I was like, that's what I need.
sick.
That's what I do.
Was
That's
that
what I
Vertigo?
want.
Where he's like,
Yeah. Little plays. Yeah, this song is inspired by Vertigo.
He's the lamest guy
Yeah.
that ever existed.
yeah, like here. He's doing the.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about this part. Yeah.
They also have like a thing for trees.
They
They have a lot of songs about trees, like Magnolia, the pecan tree.
I also read about that. Apparently, George Clark said they like to end their albums with something about a tree because it represents, like, growth and, like, you know, natural regrowth and things like that. And, like,
Cool.
I can't even think of the words, but yeah, there was, like, the pecan tree. This one, I'm not sure what ends New Bermuda or Infinite Granite or Ordinary Corrupt Human Love. But yeah, it's a really cool idea. I like that they it's cool that they possibly run themes and ideas through, you know, all of their records. It kind of makes them even more of like this, like how we were saying before, like that kind of vinyl band of like, you want to just, you want to know what's going on throughout this entire thing. 'Cause there's something more there than just, you know, just writing albums, you know?
Yeah, they have not, especially since Sunbather. I can't speak to Roads to Judah, but they've yet to release an album that felt like just a collection of songs.
Yeah.
You know, like they take the album format seriously and
right back to it.
Damn. Yeah, and there was like part of this after hearing those first two singles where they're a little shorter, they're a little more direct, that I thought like, oh, maybe they are just gonna write some songs.
Yeah.
And then you hear this and you're like, no, it's more than that still.
Yeah.
You know?
Still somehow. I mean, I think if there was a record where it did feel like just a collection of songs, it would be for me, Ordinary Corrupt Human Love, because I don't know, like that record felt like they were trying to do this, except just more. It was just more disjointed. And then in Infinite Granite, I can't really speak to. It wasn't really my thing.
Yeah, it's like it's cohesive.
Yeah,
but I didn't like as much of it. Like I liked more of Ordinary Corrupt Human Love, but it did not have the cohesion that. Definitely not Sunbather. I think New Bermuda's less cohesive than Sunbather.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was impressive in all the stuff that it's pulling from, and it did feel that way.
Yeah, for sure. Should we move into the CAs?
CAs.
I feel like we're
let's
almost
do it.
there.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
So yeah, this is definitely the most deep dive I've done into the black metal genre, and it was nice to do it with like the kings of that, like this. And like I said before, there's not a shred of cheesiness in this, so I can't knock them for anything that has to do with like the context or the story or anything like that, or even the vibe. There's nothing really that I dislike about that. The thing that challenged me about this was how relentless it is. Even with the breaths, it's just so dense and so thick, and it's an hour long. That's a long time to get screamed at.
Oh yeah.
And for someone who is at best a casual fan of this style of metal, that is challenging for me. But looking back on their prior releases, that's just what they do. They do long songs, long records, long whatever. So it's not like this is any departure or anything, and I don't want to like recommend that they do anything different because like people love them for it. But that was a challenging aspect of this for me, was digesting everything and processing it and whatever, just because it is so hard and so like the vocals are so like terrifying almost the whole time. So if it could have benefited from being a bit more digestible or something like that, but that doesn't mean anything's bad. I did enjoy a lot of aspects of this, and it moved me in a lot of ways, and is incredibly impressive. And the production, which we didn't really talk about that much, is like really nice in that it doesn't follow like cheese bullshit metal tropes that often are followed. So anyways, I think I'm going to settle on this one with a 7.4 out of 10.
I can go next. Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying, because this is like a harrowing record in a way.
Yes.
Like it's very long at an hour. So many of the songs are just so dense, and there's so much going on with it. And you are just getting like, just beaten over the head with like, so like the performances are just so good every time that and a lot of the songs follow a similar structure where it does feel you have to take a second to kind of like put on your headphones and like give it time to like really digest. And it's not really a casual listen record whatsoever. But so I will like knock it for that in a way, but like in terms of listening to this entire thing, I enjoyed pretty much everything straight through. And this was being a Deafheaven fan, this is exactly what I wanted from the band, even from like after listening to Sunbather. Sunbather's only like 7 tracks. There's like some songs that are like 13 minutes long. I was always like, this is great, but maybe some songs that are just a little bit shorter and are a little bit more like diving deeper into the metal aspect of what they do, and the shoegaze aspect of what they do. And then like New Bermuda was more metal-ish, but it was weird in its structure and presentation with like how long those songs were and how short the record is like tracks wise. And then like I felt like I kind of fell off with Deafheaven and was like, yeah, we're probably not going to get anything from them that I'm going to love ever again. But this just felt like the absolute perfect return. Like doing what they wanted to do with Infinite Granite, but mixing it in with the heaviness of New Bermuda and the shoegaze and emotionality of Sunbather, and really perfecting what they were probably trying to do on ordinary corrupt human love. I just like this is. There's probably a question as to if this is maybe their best record. It's going to be hard to beat Sunbather just because it was so like it made such a statement. But this is also making a statement, I think, with just like a return to form and perfecting it like 100%. I don't think any band really has like come back and made a return to form and like kind of gotten every little box to check 100% right. So it felt just like a complete piece of art, and I loved all the interludes. We usually dog interludes on this show. We usually dog openers and closers on the show. Again, cannot.
Yeah.
Like it delivers on every fucking way. The only thing is that it's a lot. But I like that it's a lot. I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I feel pretty similar to you. Maybe even stronger though. Like, I couldn't ask for literally anything more from a Deafheaven record.
Right.
And I think it also kind of recontextualizes the releases that came before it that people were like lukewarm on.
Right.
So it's like it's not even like a course correction because it still feels like a move forward creatively.
Yeah.
It's not like a band that like went out on the Infinite Granite tour, saw the rooms getting smaller and was like, we need to go back to Sunbather right now. Mm-hmm. No, it was like a band that was exploring ideas on these two records that came previously and were able to like organically move it into the sound that they had been doing when they originally started to create this like new collection of sounds. Yeah. Like every song is good. You know, there are a lot of them and it's dense, but for an album as dense as it is, after the first listen, I was like, damn, that was really good.
Yeah.
And like there were still moments that I was like immediately grabbed by and could remember. And listening to it again and again, there's just so fucking much that like I'm still picking up things that are like, God damn, that's sick. God damn, that rules. Yeah, like, I don't know, like, what could I ask more from Deafheaven?
Right.
You know? Like,
it's perfect.
It really does feel that way in a lot of ways, and I do think it might be their best record. I mean, like you said, I don't know if anything can replicate hearing Sunbather for the first time.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, you got a new color painted in your brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't...
Discovered a new element on the periodic table.
Yeah.
You can't get that way again, and, like, I love the Squid record, but, like, it took me 3... tries to like really dig into what I feel like Squid was doing, whereas like this one was immediately appealing and new layers grew on it every time. So I'm probably gonna go a little higher than you guys. I'm gonna go 9.1.
Whoa!
Damn.
Holy shit!
I love it. It's an 8.3.
That seems reasonable.
Seems a little low for me.
Yeah,
but it's one of the highest.
I'm a part of this too.
It's one of the one of the highest scores we've given on the show in a while.
Yeah, definitely. Outside of the classic reviews, like I think right now this is my album of the year. It's the best thing I've heard all year.
It's one of my. I mean, it's a contender, and it gets me excited for just everything that's coming out this year. But yeah, I mean, to kick off the season of the Chad with, with this, it's just like it was perfect.
Yeah,
I mean. It's so cool. You said something before about how like they went on the Infinite Granite tour and saw that maybe there was less people there or something like that. In that George Clark interview, he sort of addressed that. He was like, it wasn't that they saw less people there. It was more so that they didn't have the same energy and excitement like playing as a band. They had to like go back to trying to replicate what they wanted to do live on a record. Which is another thing that I think we may have not talked about really, like how great this would be to see just in
if they're coming, I'm going.
Oh, I have to go. Yeah, it just gets me really excited for Deafheaven this year. This is like to kick off a year, the spring with this. It's so fucking good.
Yeah.
What kind of hell yeah is it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we didn't even say. I mean,
we already did a vampire one, and
I can't do that again.
No, it's not a vampire. Hell yeah.
It's a Slash approved. Hell yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
People are gonna be so confused.
What?
A Slash approved? Hell yeah.
I mean, there's some sick
8.3.
shredding.
There's some shredding on
Yeah,
it.
there
Yeah.
is.
Slash
would approve.
Slash would love this record.
Yeah.
I think
He had a part in making it.
he did. He was there in
Portable
their hearts,
door.
in their spirits.
Slash
His uncle.
Yeah. His uncle.
whatever.
Slash's uncle.
Slash's uncle.
The Edge.
The Edge.
Yeah. But yeah, what did you think of the record? Did you love it as much as we did? Did you think it was too much? Do you not like Deafheaven because they somehow infringe on the purity of black metal for you? Are you one of those
Oh
nerds?
God.
Are you mad that guys like us now listen to black metal?
Yeah. Are
Yeah.
you mad about us doing this review? I'm sure there's going to be some
Are we
people
fat
out.
and dumb and
Are
bald?
we fat and dumb and bald? Like, most of the Sleep Token fan base thinks
Yeah.
of us. Let us know in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And for clips and other fun announcements and things, follow us on Instagram and TikTok. And subscribe to our Patreon page for bonus content. $5 a month to become a quitter. Support the show.
Mm-hmm.
Support us, getting a stand for one of our lights. It's hanging
Yeah,
off my treadmill. I think it's hilarious, though. Every time I look at it, I just don't want to do anything about it.
Yeah. I mean, treadmill may
Yeah.
not get much use.
The
so
treadmill-
it actually,
There's dust on that.
I
thing.
don't use the treadmill, but having it there to be a light stand
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
maybe the funniest use of a treadmill.
It is. It also gives you
Yeah.
a nice excuse not to use it because you're like, well, I don't want to move.
I
the
can't, I
light.
can't move the light.
And if being a quitter also helps Nate pay for a tank of gas to drive to his brother's house to get a
get the
chair
chair,
to get
yeah.
rid of this goddamn thing.
And it's-
I've been looking in a Facebook Marketplace for a new chair and a mini fridge for down here.
Nice.
I was gonna go to IKEA last night, but we thought of it at 7:30. They closed at 8.
Oof.
What was I gonna do?
no.
Go rush to get you a chair?
I mean, it's been
No,
months.
not.
Why you're
Absolutely
not
not.
rushing anything?
I'm not rushing anything.
Soon I'll just be sitting on the grind.
Now we'll get that chair in soon.
Couple years.
Soon. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, thanks for watching the show. It's I Quit My Band, Deafheaven, Lonely People with Power. It's an 8.3 out of 10 / approved. Go check it out if you haven't yet, and let us know. Subscribe to the channel, please. Get us to 1,000. We want to get to 1,000.
908 right now.
Yep. 909.
909.
909. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.